bodybuilding, this is all about bodybuilding, what's involved from the off season all the way through to your prep, to the show day, what happens at the show, behind the scenes, reverse diets, and then after that as well. Bodybuilding is it's a lifestyle at the end of the day. If you want to do it well, right? Some people just want to compete and once off, and that's fine. You know, that suits some people as well. But if you want to do well in bodybuilding and you want to be a high achiever and place really well, you need to do this as a lifestyle. There's no other way around it. So your off season is for your prep. Bodybuilding, the off season is just important to nail your off season training as it is to nail your prep. Most people tend to fall off the wagon a little bit in their off season. They get too complacent. Like, you can have some flexibility, that's fine, but too complacent means the progress can stall or not progress as much as we want it to, right? So off season is prep for your prep. Right. So we've coached like a lot of athletes, hundreds of athletes into comps. Amber and I, a little bit about us. So we've been competing for over a decade each. We've coached people for a long time into competitions in all classes and categories across multiple federations as well. So we do understand the requirements between what the difference is between a WIF bikini athlete to an IFBB bikini athlete to a FMG bikini athlete, and etc. There's lots of different federations, and every federation has slightly different requirements or looks for specific classes. Apart from bodybuilding, it's pretty much the same for men. You know, look the same. But in females, there's a lot of nuances, especially across federations and classes. So it's important, no matter who you work with, that coach needs to understand the federation, the category, and the class that you're competing in, and how to place in it. Amber is a pro figure athlete. Last year she won Miss Universe, which is the first time ever a female Kiwi has won a Miss Figure Pro Universe title ever in history. So that was pretty cool. And I was her coach. So I will take a little 5-cent reward from her glory as well. So yes, thank you. I had two or three other Universe winners as well in that same show. So our team did extremely well. And from there, we've got more pro athletes that have come out of several shows through different federations as well. So I think we don't know everything, but we do know a hell of a lot, and we are always learning and trying to. And the thing with us was we are heavily involved with all federations across all categories, and we both, myself and Amber, are always looking at what the changes are, what the requirements are for judging criteria as well. I myself am a judge, so I do judge bodybuilding at a competitive level. Amber is always backstage and helping out and helping everyone be top of their game and keeping on top of everything backstage. And there's a lot to do backstage. So that's a little bit about us, okay? Where we're going to with this is we're going to try and give you a bit of a roadmap in terms of what bodybuilding entails, what's involved, costs, breakdown, mental health, etc., because everything does matter. And mental health is one of the biggest things that we see can suffer from bodybuilding. So I do want to iterate on this, or not iterate, but highlight the fact that yes, bodybuilding is awesome. It's really hard work and it's really rewarding, but there is a cost to everything that you do. Okay, so bear in mind pros and cons. Cool.
What about all of those questions that people ask? Are they going to be covered now or as we go?
So there is a few questions. Some of the questions, guys, that you asked are actually going to be included in what we're going to cover anyway. But so I will get to a lot of them. Rena, you asked the class.
Sorry.
You're good. Just gets in it. Yep, you worked.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you do that if you guys want to ask questions. Just pop your hand up. A lot of the questions that came through, we're going to cover. There were questions around the reverse diet, cheat meals, weight gain, fear around stage and fear around like getting up there and what to do. So I will cover all that kind of stuff as well through it. That's all going to be part and parcel of what we cover.
Yeah.
right? Awesome. So let's get back into it.
Can we get a feel for how many people here have competed before and who hasn't? Now,
There's quite a few people to ask though.
you know those polls that you can make? Are they quick to do?
No.
Okay. That was like, yeah, I have.
Yeah. There's a few. I know there's a bit of a mixture. There's a mixture of people who have competed or who are looking to compete. Maybe you haven't. Cool. Hey, you guys are onto it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You got it. You nailed it.
Wicked.
Good job. Kylie, yeah, you haven't. So there's definitely a mixture. For those that have competed, you'll understand the requirements that potentially needed to hit stage. For those that haven't, this is a good opportunity for you to learn. For those that have competed, I would also encourage you to just chip in when possible and when relevant, if we can make that work as well. So let's go into your first segment, which is why most lifters stay average. Okay, most people who are lifting in the gym don't have a purpose behind why they're lifting. They kind of do it for some reason. It's like to general health or be strong or get some muscle or look good, but there's no sort of immediate timeline like a bodybuilding show and stepping up on stage. So you'll notice a big change in your focus and your mentality when you have a purpose that is really hard and really high level, like stepping up on stage, especially for the first time. But every time you step on stage, it's just as important. You'll find that you should be feeling a lot more dedicated, a lot more focused, and a lot more intense in your training sessions. And that's a really cool thing to feel. The flip side of this is after the bodybuilding comp is done, you can feel a little bit lost because you haven't got now that purpose that you've been working for so long. And we will cover that as we go. So I want to take you through the road and the story of bodybuilding prep. So the purpose is really, really important. Okay, I want you to remember that. A lot of people do random stuff in their training, random nutrition, random training. They don't practice posing. They don't know how to do diets or reverse diets, and they chase motivation instead of discipline and consistency. So those kind of things are your foundations, right? So your discipline, your consistency, and your motivation. Okay, motivation doesn't play a factor.
Can you share this with me?
Later, yeah.
I want to look at it now.
So, Amber's just asking me to do things while I'm working. I can't multitask. This is in your file.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that when I'm bringing up certain topics that it's not coming up on the next page.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I want to do a little mini comparison here from someone who is like athlete A, who might just be looking to compete, but doesn't have all the knowledge and experience or the coaching or the help and the support, versus athlete B, who does have everything on their side. So athlete A, they have good intention, they go to the gym, and they have a meal plan that they're following. But their focus is a little bit waned. They do refeeds when they feel like it. It's mostly based on feelings and emotional eating rather than stats and data. The improvement, they're not really tracking progressive overload, and the emotional eating post-show just gets blown out completely out of proportion. Versus athlete B, who is focused, who has support, training, and coaching around them. They train with precision and progression. They have a nutrition plan that they execute to the highest level, and they don't let feelings dictate decisions and emotional eating. It's controlled, and they practice their posing. They have a posing coach, and we reverse diet after the show. The differences between the two, they're both going to hit stage, right? And they're both going to potentially do their best look ever. But the differences between how they look on stage and after the show are going to be night and day. And we can see this often with people when they don't have direction and focus and plans. They might still get to stage, but they don't bring out the best version of themselves. And bodybuilding is hard enough with the right processes and support around you. Without it, you're making the job harder than it needs to be, right? And so I highly recommend that everyone works with someone to help you navigate that journey. Even Amber and I, who've been doing this for over a decade, will always have someone coaching us and mentoring us through this process. We've got to the point now where we do it to each other because we both know each other very well. So we know what works and what doesn't work. And to be quite frank, we were quite disappointed with a lot of other coaches and the lack of communication and the lack of ongoing support or the right support for the right person. As a coach, you need to be adaptable depending on the person that you're coaching. I might be quite blunt and straightforward in my approach with most people, but if that doesn't suit the person that I'm coaching, I need to change my approach, right? And that's how a coach coaches and can be adaptable. Right, so we'll start with your journey in the build season. The build season or your off season is time where we try and increase your calories to be as high as we possibly can. Now, I'm going to create this scenario based on the fact that maybe someone's already done a comp. So this is the ideal sort of scenario, right? So you've done a comp, you've done a reverse, and now we're in the off season, right? I'm going to go full circle on this, so it will make sense eventually. But you're in the build season now. The food is high. We want to have as much food as I can possibly give you, right, to fuel your training and your recovery without putting on tons of body fat. Because if we have too much body fat to lose for the next show, it's really, really hard work. Plus, you've got the mental side of things as well, feeling fat, feeling uncomfortable in your own skin. That's not a nice feeling either. So part of the reverse is navigating that ability to do a build season as well. If you don't do your reverse well, you cannot do a build season very well. We focus on progressive overload in their training. Progressive overload, most of us should know what that is. It's basically doing a little bit more than what you did last time. Now, progressive overload, the way we teach it, we focus on three main things. Form and technique or control, right? That's your priority. If your technique is crap, you're not allowed to progress on your reps and weight. Okay, you've got to nail that first for safety, but also feeling the right contraction in the muscle, okay? What I teach is, instead of range of movement, range of contraction. And for an example, if I'm doing a chest press, my chest press is the contraction I can create through my chest, not how far I can move that weight, because that's the contraction I get from my chest. That's how far I can move the weight. There's a big difference in terms of isolating muscles and range of contraction. Right. The second thing we focus on is reps. So if you hit 8 reps, week 1, next week, do 1 or 2 more reps, okay? Don't underestimate the power of 1 rep. If you can do 1 rep over 5 exercises, doing 3 to 4 sets per exercise, you're literally walking out of that gym lifting 500 to 1,000 more kilos of total volume lifted, right? That's a huge amount of progression, and it's also safe and easy for your body to adapt, because when we go to the gym, we're not just training muscle and joint, muscles, we're also training tendons and joints, right? So your tendons and joints won't adapt as quickly as your muscles will, hence why slow and steady wins the race with this kind of stuff. If you go wait, like people tend to do, I want to do 10 kilos, next week I'm doing 12 kilos, next week I'm doing 15 kilos, you're going to find eventually that you'll plateau, for first and foremost, and secondly, the risk of injury or creating issues like tendonitis or bursitis is quite high. Slow and steady wins the race. And do you want to add on that?
Well, there's also the flip side to that, where there's a lot of people that think that they're pushing themselves to the fullest, but they don't even know how to do a fail set.
Yeah.
So they'll just stop when the muscles start burning, when really they might actually only be at 60% of their capacity. So I think it's also important to train to failure at some point with some exercises to see what your full capacity is.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be appropriate to push to failure on a barbell squat, for example.
Yes.
So it might be,
it's relative, right?
You know,
so
within a rep of failure or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pushing to failure on some things when it's safe is absolutely fine as well. But yeah, a lot of people won't know their true capability until they test their capabilities.
Yeah. Like quite a bit of the time you'll see, numbers getting logged through their Trainerize account, and then you get them in for a PT session, and all of a sudden they can do an extra 2 kgs than what they just did last week.
It's always the case.
Just through, a bit of encouragement and all that. So I think there's some of the mental element to it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being able to push yourselves is really important.
Don't be scared of the pain of the burning muscle, but I'm not talking about pushing your joints to failure.
No, exactly. And leaving room to progress in the next session, because it's not about your one session, it's about every other session after that as well. So we will focus on progressive overload. We fix weak body parts at this point in time as well. So we will generally get like either the picture from them on stage if you've done a comp already. If you haven't, we will assess you as you are now based on the category and the class requirements that you need to hit and say, okay, for your body shape right now, this is probably the class or the categories we would recommend that you compete in. Hopefully it aligns with your goals. But if you say, hey, look, I want to compete in bikini, but you've got 30 kilos of muscle on you, you're probably not going to fit the bikini class, because bikini class isn't a massively muscular class. You're probably going to be aligned with a figure class, for example. So we need to fit the right person in the right classes, right categories. But in the build season, this is where we look at you and say, okay, we need to highlight your hammies, build your glutes more, get more shoulder cap coming out, more delts, fix the symmetry on your left side because you're lacking a little bit through the lat there. It would assess based on your check-in photos and your performance over that time as well. So this will be assessed as you go. We'd also look at your relationship to food. All right. So right now in the build season, this is the perfect time to have a bit more flexibility, a bit more variety in the food that you have, and being able to go out to social occasions and enjoy them and not feel guilty about having the off meal, having the burger here and there.
But how much is too much when it comes to that?
Yeah.
Because I will get a lot of, people that would be wanting to, have like a full, flexible lifestyle and also make the gains and also be lean through the off season. And, you can't have everything. Also wanting to have all the wines with the girlfriends and survive on 5 hours sleep and this and that. So there is a limit to these things as well.
It's all about balance, and at the end of the day, it comes down to your goals and priorities. If your priority is bodybuilding, then you need to prioritize a life that prioritizes that goal. We need to, again, another thing we talk about a lot to our athletes is live the goal now before you earn the goal. So if you can't live it, you're never going to earn it, and that's a really important factor. As you go through the build phase, right, we'll be adjusting food, potentially building calories up, getting your metabolism trained to be able to handle more calories. We're also going to be looking at your cardio and your output, your general output, your step count, all that kind of stuff. Because if you're in off season doing an hour to 2 hours of cardio per day, maybe 5-6 days a week, your step count's 20,000-30,000 steps a day. You're always active and busy in 6 days of training a week.
And you're skipping meals.
And you're skipping meals, or you're eating off plan and having lots of burgers or lots of wines, whatever it is. The baseline is really, really hard to know where you are, for starters, for a coach. The second thing is, when we start a prep, everything needs to be scalable. And if you're doing 2 hours or even an hour of cardio a day in an off season, we can only go up from there, right? Because that's your baseline. If you
only so much that your body's going to handle.
So in a prep, you're going to be pushing really, really hard. You're going to be burning the candle from both ends. So if you start a comp at a really high level of activity and low food, you're
going to burn out and you're not going to make it. Really.
Exactly. That's the reality of it, right?
They always burn out.
Yeah. Or you might make stage, but you don't get the conditioning and the look that you really want to achieve. So the build season is vital for your ability to do prep and do really well in your competing time as well.
So if this is you right now in the off season, don't freak out.
Yeah.
Like this is the time to change that, to gradually take that down and.
Yeah. It's all fixable, basically. I work with people for many, many years, and they've come to me with really low metabolisms, and that is a factor from like lots of dieting in the past, where metabolism can be super adaptable to calorie deficits, so it adapts really quickly. And we need to work together for a long time to actually train the metabolism to be humming and a little bit more. But if you've dieted a lot in the past, your metabolism in general is going to be a bit more adaptable to a deficit. I have this problem myself, because of my poor relationship with food in the past, because I starved myself and fasted and was just the worst case scenario for any coach to look at, right? Amber would know this. I didn't eat at all until lunchtime.
And fully changed by me.
Fully changed by you.
He didn't even eat breakfast when I first met him.
I had
Lollies and like a half of a chicken for lunch.
that was literally
Yeah,
it.
and then he'd eat something. He was scared of eating any other carbs.
Couldn't eat
apart from
carbs.
his lollies.
Thought I was going to
He
eat
wanted
fat.
abs all year round.
Yeah, I did at least have that.
But yeah, he was pretty lean. He had to actually eat extra food into his first show.
I did. Yeah, my first show I ate more food going.
Yeah, but you know, compared to now, like a
Now-
lot has been repaired.
Yeah, it's a lot better, but my body is a bit more adaptable to deficits. So compared to Amber, I need to work at a higher output to what she does because she hasn't damaged her metabolism and her ability to adapt as fast as I have. If I went into the desert, fantastic. I'm going to outlive most people, but we're not in the desert.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you put me down on 1,800 calories and I feel like it's the end of the world.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's easy. So prep, you've done your off season. We've nailed your off season. You're looking fantastic. Hey, you might be holding a little bit more body fat than what you would like ideally, but now we're going into your prep time.
Well, what about, can you touch on like the alcohol through the off season? Because I think there's a lot of people that would like to enjoy some drinks through the off season, but like
It's okay.
what would be an appropriate amount?
Everything's individualized for me. Like I don't ever say it'll be X amount for anything really, because you can't say that about most things, especially when it comes to nutrition and training and water and hydration and all that kind of stuff, right? The best amount is what kind of that person can tolerate and still achieve their goals.
What if they can tolerate drinking 8 drinks every Saturday night and they say that they feel okay the next day?
Well, that's going to show up very quickly in the results, isn't it? Like you're going to see scale change in a rapid way. You're going to see training performance stagnant or diminish. You're going to see mood and maybe step counts change as well. So all of this data is really important to track. So when we are coaching people, we track all of this stuff as well, with their training, their weight, their step count, their heart rates even. All of those things need to be looked at and to see how this person is responding day to day. How long is a piece of string is a kind of the response to that kind of a question though.
How much do you drink?
I haven't drink at all, right? So, but that's because, and I'll tell you why. Because every time I had any drinks, what it would do is it would make me feel crap the next day, and it would put me off eating food, or I would eat not good quality food, and I couldn't train, and I'd be grumpy and moody. And I just thought, well, this isn't serving my life in any way meaningfully. The drinks don't add anything to me. I can still go out with my mates or with family or whatever and have a good time without the alcohol. I also strongly believe in being in control of your situations and environment, right? So if you're using alcohol to feel good, or food to feel good, then that food or alcohol is controlling you. That's an issue. But if you choose to have the alcohol or have the food, and you're in control of it, and you understand the pros and the cons around it, that's cool, right? You know what's involved, and you know what's going to happen if you do that, and you still choose to do it. Okay, you've made your decision. Own it, right? But when it starts controlling you, no.
Like the drink that you have to have every day at the end of the day,
Yeah,
just to relax, versus the I'm going to have a drink at my daughter's 21st, or
Yeah.
at my mum's birthday, or something like
very,
that.
very different situations.
Yeah.
So you've done your off season, you've put some muscle on, and we're ready to go. We've come in and we've decided on a show. We know the time frame, and in a prep, we would generally, for most, and again, I'll say generally a lot, okay, because nothing's set in stone. But in general, we'd probably be working on around 20 weeks for a lot of people for a prep, okay? It will be dependent on the person. It will be dependent on their starting point, okay? So, but as a baseline, let's just say a 20-week average. We would choose a show, we'd choose your class, we would start looking at your posing from 20 weeks as well, nailing that. We'd start looking at, for females in particular, like looking at bikinis and shoes and colors and how you're going to do things. Females need to be aware of a lot more than what males need to do, because there's a whole lot more to it. Males, we basically roll out of bed, put some trunks on, and turn up on the day. Get some tan on. Easy peasy. There's a lot more involved for females, okay? Color of bikini matters, hairstyle matters, makeup matters, jewelry, nails, shoes. These actually do play a role in how you present on stage, believe it or not.
Men though as well, skin condition.
Skin condition can be a factor. For men model classes, okay, when I talk a lot about bodybuilding, I'm talking about my classes, which isn't as focused around, I guess, beauty. It's more just size and muscle. Whereas the model classes for men is still a model class. So they would still maybe look at getting makeup done, making sure their hair's really nice, nails are groomed and all that kind of stuff as well. So that is important for men model classes. But the female generally a little bit higher end. So we'd have a goal and we'd start working towards your show. We'd have a diet that we hit a deficit on. Now, when we start with a deficit with any diet, the goal is to still give you as much food as possible.
How do we choose the appropriate date, show, and federation? So that's, comes before all of that.
Yeah.
Because like we'll sometimes get people coming and they'll say, I want to do this show, right? And we'll look at them, we're like, the timeline doesn't really fit what the idea was. So I think it's important to be open to different timelines as well, and make sure that you're letting your coach know as far out as possible if there's a very specific show that you're wanting to do. So everything is geared around that. Like if you're wanting to do a season A show, but you're also wanting to go off and have a 2-week all you can eat in Bali over December, and you've gained an extra 15 to 20 kgs after your last show, then that might not be the best choice.
That definitely won't be the best choice. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely on that as well. So
plan it around your holidays. I've had quite a few people this year saying, after the fact, but I've got this holiday in between, and so it just means it's just a little bit more difficult to work around, but it can still work.
It can still work. It does, again, individual specific. If the person hasn't put on a lot of body fat, you can generally pull them in relatively quickly in most cases. Again, depends on the person. But we're going to a deficit, okay? And your deficit is elicited in 2 ways. Calorie deficit, so reducing calories, and increasing cardio. So those are your 2 main factors to create a deficit, right? Yes, there's other things around as well: stress, hormones, hydration, sleep. Those will play a factor as well in terms of body fat loss. But in general, calories in, calories out, right? Creating a deficit. Now, when we are coaching people, we want to give you as much food as possible and as little cardio as possible at this early start, okay? Because our priority is always to fuel you for your training and your recovery. You can still put on muscle in a deficit, right? So we're always going to be gearing you to have the best results in the gym. We often structure our training, or our nutrition, I should say, in 2 or 3 different type of plans. So we'd have a rest day plan, a training day plan, and potentially a leg day plan or a leg and back day plan, depending on the individual. We'd have less food on the rest days, we'd have more food on your training days, and even more food on a back and leg day. Again, individual specific.
Yeah. Or maybe a shift worker.
A shift worker
may well have more food on a day when they've got 12 hours worth of working on. Potentially, maybe they've got an extra meal going in if they're awake for a bit longer. And
they're on their feet the whole time as well. So those kind of things will play a role in terms of the diet that we prescribe. But again, we're going to give you as much food as possible. So why this matters is because often when people start doing a diet, and especially in lifestyle, we see this a lot, that they have little extras on top of it. A little bit of sauce, a little bit of bite of this, a bite of that. And on the whole of things, it's not a big deal, right? They might have a bit of sauce, a couple of bites of a cookie or some chocolate and a couple of lollies a couple of times a week. Now, that might account to 50 calories, 70 calories a day. 50 calories to 70 calories a day is not a lot, but we're going to be really, really anal in particular about exactly what you're eating the whole time, right down to tracking how much chewing gum you have. Okay, that's literally how diligent, how horrible we get, I guess you
Yeah.
could call it, right?
If it's needed to be tracked, like someone
Yeah.
who is like,
Struggling.
basically tracking by the book, they're looking lean enough for the timeline, you don't, maybe they're even a little bit too lean, you need to feed them in. You're not going to be worrying about counting their chewing gum.
No.
But, someone else that you're like, right, we have to
Yeah.
pull in this and that, you're better off to pull back on the chewing gum and the additional sauce and the additional bite of this and that.
Artificial sweetness stuff
rather
as well.
than pulling back on your pre-workout carbs or the before bed carbs.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, even if that person was doing an extra 70 odd calories a day, which again isn't a lot, when you times that by 7 days, that's
by 20 weeks.
490 calories. Times it by 20 weeks, that's 9,800 calories. That's a lot of extras.
That's over a kilo
So
worth of body fat.
That's 3
That they could
kilos.
have lost.
No, that's a
No,
kilo
that's-
and a kilo and a bit, 1.25 kilos approximately of body fat that you have shot yourself in the foot over by having things that don't aid you at all, like a bite of this, a lolly here and there. It's not giving you anything other than keeping you stuck in a craving mindset. Because you'll often get in a prep, other people chipping in with their 5 cents as well, especially friends and family are really good at this, especially if it's your first show. Oh, why are you doing that? Surely one thing won't matter. Why do you do this anyway? It looks so hard. Why are you putting yourself through this? Okay.
Oh, you look sick, eat a cupcake.
He looks, all the time, right? It's really important that you communicate to them at the start what it is you're doing and the support that you require from them. Tell them that you don't want that kind of chipping nuisance that's happening. Okay, it's not helping you, and they are right to a point. That one lolly, that one biscuit, probably won't do anything. But it's not about that. It's about your mentality around it. Because if you say yes, that one thing won't matter, you've now opened a potential floodgate to every other one thing that won't matter after that. So, sure, right then, that time, that one thing won't matter, but I can guarantee you that floodgate's going to open, and then there'll be one thing, and it'll be two things, and it'll be three things that won't matter.
Especially if you're out at an event and you're being offered this and that, and you just decide to have a bite, then you get a taste for it. It's like, oh,
yeah,
might get a case of the fuckets for the night. I think better off just not have a taste of it, especially with the sugar.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, if I just get a taste for a sugar, it's really, really hard to say no.
Yeah.
Especially for the cheat meal thing, which we'll go into.
Cheat meals
as well.
Yeah, that was a question that was asked around cheat meals and off meals. So your mindset and your mentality throughout this whole process is really, really important. That is the number one thing that gets people off track or makes them fail or not hit the mark, is their mindset. Okay, very, very few people fail because of the wrong diet or the wrong training or something like that. Sometimes you get sick, and is what it is, but a lot of it comes down to their mindset. So we're going to give you as much food as possible to elicit the calorie deficit, and we're going to track you as you go and make sure that we're always sort of trending in the right direction. We are going to weigh you quite frequently. Now, a lot of people get hung up on the scales, okay? Everyone's different. I myself, when I'm in prep, I will hold weight for around 3 to 4 weeks randomly throughout my prep. Even when I decrease calories and increase my cardio, my body just goes, nah, we're not changing. Other people tend to lose a lot more steadily. It's very, very individual specific. It doesn't mean you're failing or doing anything wrong. It's just your body's decided to not play the game for a little bit. All of a sudden, my body will drop like that, 1.5, 2 kilos, bang, off. And that's this new baseline. And then it stays like that for another 3 weeks. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you stop messing with my head and just show me a general trend over time, please? Not this ups and downs. But that's how my body responds and how other people respond as well.
And that's where just weighing yourself once a week on check-in day is what we recommend.
Yeah.
Usually I'll find, people are doing the daily thing. I might get more messages throughout the week of concern, of ups and downs, and my weight's fluctuating. I don't know what's going on, but it's normal for it to fluctuate.
Yeah.
Throughout the week and throughout different times in your cycle as well.
That's a big point as well. So females, your weight will fluctuate even more so, especially through menstrual cycles and hormonal cycles. But stress can also cause weight fluctuation. lack of sleep can cause it. Maybe you had a refeed meal with a bit more carb. You are absolutely going to be heavier the day after. Do not weigh yourself after having an off meal. It is silly. It's a fake measurement, and it's going to do nothing else but upset you if you have that kind of relationship to scales, right?
And the day after, like a really big training session, if it's after your quad day, your hamstring day, or your back day, it's probably going to be higher than the day after your rest day.
Yeah, exactly, because of inflammation.
If you're doing the weigh-in on the same time each week, especially if you're running your training cycle, you might do your legs always on a Saturday and your chest day on a Monday, check-in days on a Tuesday, then things are just a lot easier to track.
So keep it to the same sort of schedule and timeline for all the time. We try and get people to weigh in on the same day and fasted first thing in the morning all the time. Sometimes it's not possible because of travel or whatever, but we try and make it all very, very consistent.
But 10 o'clock in the morning, after 2 meals, after 2 liters of water, we can't do anything with that.
No, it's not a real accurate measurement, and not a baseline either. But cardio, we'll also look to increase over time as well. So again, as I said before, if you're starting your cardio out at an hour a day, we have to create that as a baseline. So your starting point might be an hour and a half. That's a lot of cardio, guys, to start off with. And as you go, at that rate, you're going to be on 2.5 to 3 hours of cardio a day. That's crazy. You don't have time for that, right? No one has that amount of time unless you're like a full-time paid bodybuilder. Sure, cool. I don't know anyone who's got that unless you're Ronnie Coleman back in the day.
It might be like a very, very high amount of like average steps, and then maybe 2 focused cardio sessions or something, but that is quite a bit of time and stress on the body as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Roo, I will keep on the nutrition aspect here. So off meals, this was a question that was asked. During a prep, yes, off meals or refeed meals. I don't like calling anything cheat meals because, one, that's a negative connotation with food, and we should get away from all negative connotations with food.
I like treat
meal, cool.
Meal.
I call it off meal or refeed meal, whatever. But the whole point of an off meal is, I guess, a bit of mental release. That's kind of all it really does, right? It makes you feel happy for a short period of time. The issue I find with off meals, and I don't do any off meals in the prep ever, because I find they trigger me and they make me crave more carbs or more food. So if I went out and had a burger at nighttime at home, that all of a sudden I'm in eat everything in sight mode, and I'll look at like rice cakes, and even if there's no junk food in the house, and there often isn't with us, but even rice cakes, it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to eat 5 or 6 rice cakes and I can't stop myself.
So I wake up in the morning and then you've got all those little packets of protein bar wrappers all next to the bed.
It's not throwing me under the bus too much, but yeah.
But still, as far as cheating on diets go, though, protein bars would be the preferable choice, or rice cakes as opposed to packet of Tim Tams.
Thank you for that save as well. But yeah, that's the point, right? If you have triggers, then don't have that as something that could potentially throw you off. There's just no point. What I will often do for my athletes is I'll give them refeed day or days. And the reason I do this is we still keep to the same food. Okay, so if they're having rice or chicken or kumara or whatever, normal carb, oats, etc., we'll still have those same meals, but I'll increase the amount of carbs that they're eating for 1 or 2 days, depending on the person and how they're tracking. Now, that would make them feel a little bit more full for a period of time. It'll give them a bit more energy for their training session over the next couple of days as well. But it also increases the metabolism a little bit, right? Not lots, but a little bit, when the calories are around 300 to 400 calories more for that day. And the issue with off meals is that they don't do anything for calories. Okay, so often back in the day, it was said, have an off meal, boost your metabolism. No, it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't do anything for your metabolism, but an off day or days can potentially actually reset a metabolism level a little bit more. In saying this, a lot of the time as well, we've had people come in, start coaching with us halfway through a prep because they've been with another coach and they haven't had any weight loss for ages, and something's gone wrong, whatever, they've come and joined us. We sometimes, depending on the person, will actually give them more food than what they were potentially on before, because maybe they were burnt out, right? They were on way low food, way too much cardio, and their body had just stopped responding. So it's actually, you need some stress relief now. You need some relaxation. You need more food for your body to start functioning properly, and we'll give them more food, less cardio, and bang, all of a sudden, weight loss starts to happen again.
And same thing happens on a very long-term diet as well.
Long-term diets are bad for that. So refeed days can be really helpful to help stimulate metabolism levels and also give people a little bit more energy for their training session. What I generally do as well is I time them for some of their bigger training sessions, so like a leg day or a back day. So, hey, when's your next leg day coming up? Saturday, cool. We're going to do a refeed day on the Friday and the Saturday. On those days, I want you on the Friday to do your weight and photos for me, and then on Saturday, weight and photos, and then Sunday, weight and photos. Because what I'm looking for is how do those carbs affect them in the prep, right? How much weight do they put on? How quickly did that weight come off? And how do they look with that carb intake? Because we can use that as a test run into how I'm going to prep them for the show, right? So, oh, cool, this person, we gave them 400 grams of carbs this day, and they only put on 1.5 kilos, and they lost that in 1 or 2 days. That's a pretty fast response, and they looked really good, and they had lots of energy. Or I gave this person 400 grams of carbs, and it was way too much. They spilled, they held that weight for a long period of time. It wasn't great. 400 grams of carbs is a lot. You know, that's probably a bigger person that you would give something like that to. Posing.
That's the only thing, you'd only really do that closer to show.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it right at the start of a prep. That's
I mean,
point.
the photos, the photos in the weigh-in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you can actually see quite a lot of change day to day with carbon elimination as well.
But what about doing your 3-day refeed as opposed to your 1-day refeed? What's the big advantage of that hormone-wise?
So, I mean, the 3-day one has more benefit to metabolism reset and increasing metabolism. The consequences there is going to be potentially weight gain because the metabolism is slower than what it would normally be. So, when we go through a prep and a heavy calorie restriction diet for a prolonged period of time, the body adapts and it gets really sensitive to things that it didn't used to be sensitive to. And also when we go through prep, we often limit certain food groups out, like potentially dairy, or reduce gluten intake and stuff like that. That might cause any sort of inflammation to that person. We kind of remove a lot of that kind of stuff, even if it's on the off chance of it working or not, So that when you start having more of this, if you had an off meal, for example, and you had a highly processed meal full of gluten, lots of fat, that body's going to probably not really like it because it's not adapted to it. It's not equipped to handle it with the gut microbiome either. Okay. So we want to try and keep to the same food and stuff that's scalable the whole time. As dairy can be okay for a lot of people, but it can also potentially cause some inflammation or water retention for some people as well. So if there's an off chance that it might, we generally just eliminate it out completely. And when it comes to the reverse diet, we would start drip feeding it back in to allow that body to adapt and recover over time and build the gut microbiome back up to tolerate it again. Does it answer your question? Yes, cool. I hope so. Posing is mandatory for every single person from about 20 weeks out. Even like for Amber, myself, we're posing year round. Amber's really good at this. She poses every single training session, basically. Every day. And even then, she's still refining things and trying to improve on things. So if you haven't competed before and you think you're going to start posing 8 weeks out, you're about 3 years too late, So you need to start posing as soon as you make the decision to hit stage in the class that you're going to look to compete in, because you can always get better at it.
Yeah, and just all of the twisting that you've got to do and trying to walk well in heels and all of that is really, really hard to master.
Because, yeah, that's right. And it's not just about the posing and learning the posing, because it's also about your body and how that responds, because it's actually really hard on the body. And you'll probably find that you're really tight in certain poses that you didn't think you would be tight in. So then you're like, oh man, I actually have to work on a lot of mobility just to be able to hit this pose well. And that's a time thing. So I know there was an actual question that got asked in this around not being able to hit a pose or feeling too tight to hit that pose. That's a mobility thing and a time thing, not necessarily a joint thing at all. Some people can have locked up joints. That's a part, sometimes it can happen, but it's very rare that it might affect their ability to twist their hips. So spine can be an issue. If you've got any issues with your spine or fused or spina bifida, that can sort of limit your ability to rotate through your core and your midsection. But if you don't have that, then it's probably just a tight thoracic spine, tight muscles that we need to work on and get the mobility back into place with.
Yeah, and it can take a really long time to correct that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
postural issues.
Especially if it's been years that you've done any mobility, like it's going to take you a long time to fix that. Yeah. But posing must be done at least 20 weeks out, if not earlier. And
even before the posing is started, that's where the year-round mobility sessions, making sure that you're doing that as part of your regular gym routine is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And your mental discipline is going to be a major factor in your prep. Mental fortitude, your grit, your determination. If you rely on motivation, you are going to fail. There is nothing motivating in prep most of the time, especially towards the end of a comp or towards the end of a prep. The amount of times I've pulled up to the gym and sat in my car going, I am spent before I've even started my day. I've woken up exhausted. I've done an hour of cardio. I've had one meal and I'm meant to train. Oh my gosh, how am I going to survive? And you go, well, I've got to do it anyway and get out and get it done. Your focus needs to be on the long term, not the now. If you focus on the now, you're going to go off track because your emotions are going to decide your outcomes. Rather than going, I don't feel great, that's okay to not feel great. It's not going to be the end of the world because my long-term outcome is more important than my now. You must make the goal more important than what goes on day to day, especially when things start to go wrong in your life. And things will happen. Relationship issues, work issues, car breaks down, little things that you don't foresee or you can't plan around will crop up. Loss in the family. 1 year, we lost 4 people in our family within the space of like 6 months. This was in a prep, right? And a lot of the time that will completely just derail someone because you've got even if they weren't like 100% close to the person because they've got to go to a funeral, you've got to eat the funeral food, you've got to be around people, you've got to engage and travel and all that kind of stuff as well. So what we do is a couple of things. Make the goal more important than the now. So regardless of what's going on in your life right now is irrelevant to the long-term goal. Yes, you need to manage it, your environment, but it doesn't derail the long-term picture. You can generally navigate most things. It might mean that you have to be a little bit more hungrier or choose food that you don't really enjoy that much. For example, you're at an event, okay, you can't take your food, take some rice cakes, take a can of tuna, or take a scoop of protein powder in a shaker container. Is it ideal? No, but it's more important that you do that rather than giving into temptation or pressure from your environment. Another thing to really hold on to with this kind of stuff is when you have external pressure coming in from outside influences like saying, oh, just have the meal with us, you should be eating with us because of this scenario, that scenario. One, you can say to them, hey, look, that's cool, I understand that, but our goals our timeline doesn't change, and I can't push this out another week, right? I still have to hit this stage at this point in time. 2, reframe it for them and for yourself. Tell them, if you came to me and you said, hey, if you're talking to me, hey, Chris, I've got this goal I want to achieve. I know it's your daughter's birthday and you've put on all the spread for you, and you put on a lot of work for the food, but I'm choosing to have this meal. It's not a reflection on what you've done or haven't done. It's just that my goal, means I have to eat this food. What would I say to you? Would I go like, oh, well, now I'm really insulted and you should be eating my food that I prepared for everyone? Or what I'd say to you, it's amazing you have a big goal to achieve. Good luck. Now, some people might say, oh, but we want you to eat the food. Again, how do I say this nicely? I don't know how to. If then, to be honest. So.
Not the kindest way you can say it.
Yeah. Well, seriously, you know, you're trying to hit a goal, and that's really important to you, that you set your mind to, and it's taken a hell of a lot of work for you to get this goal. And they're worried about you not eating their food. I mean, come on, really? It's not that big of a deal. So if someone has an issue with it, that's their problem, all right? They can have that problem. You don't have to take it on board.
You can still sit at that dinner table and just eat your separate food.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we've gone out lots of times in preps, to funerals, all sorts of things, and stuck to our same food, or just not eating that food, you know, having the food later on or beforehand, whatever it is that we can sort of make work.
The other thing that can be quite difficult when you've got a lot going on is being able to fit in your cardio and training, and I'll get this a lot. You know, I was away for 4 days and couldn't get to the gym, or I couldn't do my cardio, but there's pretty much almost everywhere there are other gyms, and you can do cardio outside. Yeah,
there's always outside, even if there's raining, right? You can just get wet.
I mean, sure, sometimes it might warrant having a couple of rest days in a row. Yeah, but I mean, and just thinking back to some past years, there was definitely some repeat offences of that, and using it as more of a
excuse.
Excuse, or maybe also, you know, sometimes people might not think of going and getting a casual session. Like before we go and travel anywhere, we'll Google where the gyms are, and we'll find out what the opening hours are and what the casual rates are, and we'll be all sorted.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you can't get into a gym, like Emma said, you go for a walk. Missing 1 or 2 training sessions isn't going to be the end of the world, but I just recommend that you communicate it with your coach, and make sure you nail your food, and make sure you try and get their steps up as well. And you can bank cardio as well. So like if you have a cardio goal of an hour a day, maybe on the rest days you do an hour and a half, or on the weekends you do 2-hour sessions, you know, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. You can kind of bank cardio a little bit that way. But if you have a goal of an hour of cardio every single day, please, whatever you do not do 7 hours of cardio in one day, okay? That is not a good idea. Split it, bank it, but to a point. Maybe I'd probably say the maximum would be 2 to 2.5 hours of cardio per day for the majority.
Yeah, what can be quite tough is if you're getting behind on things and you're supposed to be doing 90 minutes cardio a day, plus training, and you know, there are these things coming up in life that you can't get around.
Yeah,
that's when it's time to talk to your coach and say, oh my gosh, what do I do here? And then you work it out together, and then maybe it's pulling back on the cardio a little bit to bring the training forward, or whatever.
That'll be dependent on the person as well, right? Because sometimes we might say, well, look, actually I want you to just prioritize your training and don't worry about the cardio over these next 3 or 4 days, right?
Or maybe you're doing a shorter training session, and
maybe you're only doing 30 minutes of training, superset only, you know. Maybe we're only doing the first 3 to 4 exercises of that training plan, and that's it.
Or maybe, like, you know, if your coach knows the main body parts that you need to work on going into the next show, it's like, well, just don't skip the leg days. Whatever you do, don't skip the leg days. You can skip all your upper days this week, don't care. At least get your 40 minutes cardio in, but get, you know, 2 or 3 leg days in, and we'll be okay. Maybe they have to forego a little bit of sleep over that week.
And also, if you go on holiday, or you've got that's way some time that you're traveling, tell your coach at the start of the prep, not during like a week out of traveling. I've had this happen where people tell me a week before they travel, I'm going away for a week. It's like, oh God, if I'd known that, I would have pushed you a little bit harder, and started earlier, or pushed you harder at the start. We've lost a week based on my timeline, because when we as coaches work out what we want to do and how we're going to do it, we work backwards from your goal and how much time we have and where you are at right now, and we go, okay, for this person we're going to need X amount of time, and we should be looking to lose X amount of weight on average per week to bring in the result of what we see this person needing to do. It's not perfect, right? And we might need to go harder at times or ease off on times as well. But we need to know a timeline for everything. Otherwise, it's our maths is skewed right from the start. So that's a lot of the posing, the prep side of things. So prep, start around, let's say 20 weeks, you start posing the calorie deficit. Over time, this calorie is going to get reduced and your cardio is going to go up. You're going to feel tireder, more lethargic. And what also is going to happen is your mood is going to change, okay? You're going to get grumpier and tighter, and your libido is going to drop, or if not, go altogether, okay? That is normal. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a hormone thing. So through prep and through hard deficits, your dopamine levels decrease and your cortisol levels increase, okay? That alone is going to crush libido, but your sex hormone does change as well. You get less sex hormones through a prep and through hard calorie deficits. All right.
But preferably, this wouldn't be happening until like the last 6 weeks or even 4 weeks. Like some people can actually cope pretty well until 2-3 weeks out.
Some people can.
Some people cope really well the whole time along. It depends how much weight that we're needing to shift, how much cardio that we need to put them on. Generally speaking, the more cardio that we need to put people on, the longer prep and the lower that the calories get, the more these things get affected. Hence why having the best preparation through the off season is your best bet. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hormones do change and stress will increase. Now, in a prep, we sometimes might get people to do mental health breaks. Okay. So if they're in a prep and their body's a little bit stagnant and they are just reporting like of total fatigue, weights aren't progressing, nothing's really changing, even after like adjustments to calories and cardio output, the chances are that their hormones are completely out of whack. You know, they might also be quite stressed at work or with a relationship issue or finance issue, whatever it is, right? So on times like that, we might actually say to these people, okay, today or tomorrow, I know you've got your training day. I want you to not do your training, but I want you to use that time to go get a massage or sleep in. You know, do something for you that you enjoy. Getting your nails done. I don't know. I don't care what it is. I want it to be completely not stressful, relax you completely. Whether you might even just lie in bed watching TV, whatever it is that you want to do, I want you to do that tomorrow, okay? Because your cortisol levels have been high for a prolonged period of time now, and that is affecting your ability to metabolize metabolize fat. We need to regulate that cortisol now.
What are we supposed to do when it's their job that's causing all of this stress, and you know, they still have to go to work, and I guess the only thing we can do is pull back on their training and stuff. Yeah,
so we'll try and manage, like if that is the case and you go to work and you can't not go to work, right? You got to earn a living, and that's a major stress contributor to you. Then we might need to change your training to be less stressful and more time efficient, so you can actually have some relaxation time programmed into your training time as well. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's mobility and stretching and core work, whatever it is that sort of helps that person regulate themselves. Maybe we even need to drop a whole training day out for 6 or 8 weeks. We only got 4 days a week of training instead of 5, and that 5th day is actually 100% geared to mental health and de-stressing you. We might even advise you to take 1 or 2 sick days from work, because the mental capacity is just no longer there. Because you've got to remember, when we're in prep, especially later on as the prep goes on, your mental fortitude is going to be tested in every step of the way with what you're doing in a prep, let alone stresses from external pressures, okay? So it's really important that as coaches, we understand exactly where you are mentally and emotionally, as well as all the other data and analytics that we need, okay? Because your mental health is a major factor in terms of how well you're going to do in that prep. So we go through your prep, and let's say everything's gone to plan. We've done some off meals, some refeeds, etc., etc. Your posing's been good. You've been doing all the basics right, and we're rolling into getting close to stage now. We'll talk about your peak week. Actually, before I go in to the peak week side of things. Yes.
I was just going to say, at like 3 or 4 weeks out, that's when everyone says, I can't do this anymore.
But yeah,
Decides that they want to pull the pin.
it's almost like clockwork, to be honest. You're like 3 or 4 weeks out and you go, oh, I've just had 3 people say they don't want to do it anymore. And we're like, oh yeah, I've just had 3 or 4 people as well say it. So yeah, the old 3 to 4 week slump blues. Yeah, really normal. So you're going to doubt yourself a lot. And especially as the show gets closer, you're probably going to doubt yourself even more. And everyone always says, oh, I don't think I'm ready. I don't know if I could get on stage anytime soon. It's like, yeah, no shit, you're not ready. You're 3 or 4 weeks out, mate. You're not meant to be ready until the show day. That's when you're ready, you know? So you're not meant to look ready at all until you hit stage.
But you're only going to be looking as ready as you can for that timeline, because there are always improvements to be made.
Yes, exactly. You can change from a day out, literally. It's depending on the person and what we can do. There's a lot we can manipulate even a day out of a show to completely change that person. Actually, you can change within 10 minutes. I'm not exaggerating that. We have had people walk up on stage, do their judging round, their first round, and place second next to a person. They've come off stage, we've gone backstage, you need to do this and that, and change this pose, gone back on stage and won. Okay, you literally can change things super quickly when you are extremely lean and the body's really, really sensitive to anything.
Or it might be other things that we change, like the depth of the can,
yes.
The way that you're holding yourself in your pose.
Yeah.
You know, we might be pumping up the glutes or the delts a little bit more. Maybe you went out a little bit flat the first time and
mistimed the pump up, or you got rushed at the start because they didn't have the schedule very well done, and they said you were half an hour away, and then next minute they're like, oh, you're up now. So that can happen on show days as well. Or they said you're up in 10 minutes, and then 2 hours later you're still there stuck, pumping up. That happened to me at Universe.
It was a nightmare. And then they made him stand at the back of the stage for probably almost an hour.
Up on stage for an hour.
Up on stage, sweating in the lights. And he'd already been waiting for several hours. So we're behind on water, behind on food. What can you do? I just wanted to throw food and water up to him. He was just standing there under the bright lights, but can't do that. Whereas I was very lucky. I was in a smaller class. I was first up. Everything ran like clockwork. So sometimes you're lucky.
So luck of the draw sometimes.
That was a very, very unlucky one for Chris. You do hear about that kind of thing happen in the bigger shows mainly, but for our smaller New Zealand regional shows,
or Australian shows,
they
are generally not as much of an issue, depending on the class and category.
Depending on the class.
Was there a question?
Someone popped up for a question. There it is, Kylie.
Kylie, yes, Kylie.
Can't hear.
Yeah, she's got it.
When you're talking about pumping up, are you guys backstage doing a workout? Is that the pump up you're talking about?
Yeah, kind of like a workout. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll cover this when we get to. Amber's doing a pump up right now, so we will cover this when we get to what happens on the show day. But we basically get some bands and we do some exercises that are going to pump up certain muscle groups, depending on the class and the look that we're going for, right? So we don't pump up everything, but for bikini, we might pump up a little bit of glute, potentially a little bit of hammy and shoulders, bit of back maybe. For bodybuilding, I'm going to pump mostly only my upper body, and I'm going to not do much to my legs because I don't want any inflammation in my legs, and I want to see the cuts. If I pump up too much of my legs, by the time I get on stage, they're going to be inflamed, and I'm not going to see the striations and the cuts through the quads and the hamstrings and the glutes.
Usually for the bodybuilding and the figure, just running through your poses will help fill out your legs. I mean, I'll just pump up my glutes a little bit. Maybe for some other people, if I need to bring up something, a bit more fullness, maybe I might target a particular area if I want my hamstrings to come out a little bit more or something. But generally, figure and bodybuilding will focus mainly on the upper body,
Yeah.
and then wellness and bikini will focus more on the lower body, and then just target a few extra other areas. Sport model, you know, similar to the figure, but you want a little bit more leg work. So I guess it's across between.
It really depends on the class and the person and how much muscle they have and how conditioned they are as well.
Depending on your look, like we'll guide what we think is going to be best for you.
Yeah. So if we're there in person, we'll be telling you what to do. If we're not there in person, you'll have a run sheet for the day of exactly what to do and when to do it, and we'll be basically on the phone with you 24/7 on that day as well. Video calls or phone calls or text messages. The amount of times I'm like messaging people, tell me what's going on. Where are you? Oh, just in the toilet. Gosh, I was panicking there. You know, all right, that's all right. You're allowed to go to the toilet, but just tell me next time.
Yeah, it's tough when you're coaching for an away, someone's
Yeah.
away, and then they lose their phone.
Oh gosh, that's
or something like that. I mean, I've had some people competing where I've just had the first thing in the morning photos and then haven't heard from them again until after the show, and I was, oh my gosh, pulling my hair out, because usually we'd be wanting to see what they look like at 6 a.m. and then maybe 9, 10 a.m. so we can just guide in finer detail for the food and pump up and stuff, and then maybe 12/1 depending what time that they go on as well. So
you all have a plan for all that, but as I said, like, you can change based on the minute on the show day. So that's why we want like constant communication, videos, photos, like throughout the whole process to see exactly how you're doing.
So if you've been asked to send videos, 2 or 3 lots of videos on the Friday day before and 3 sets on the Saturday, there is a reason.
Yes, there is a reason for that.
Yeah.
So that leads us into peak week. Peak week, what that looks like will be dependent on the person, but generally speaking, a peak week should be a little bit less intense than the prep has been for the last 5 to 6 weeks, right? Peak week is all about fine-tuning everything, bringing everything out. We might do, again, this is going to be really individual specific. So what I say here is a general thing. It doesn't apply to everyone, and everyone is going to be different. Okay, can't stress that enough. But for an example, you might do a little bit of a carb depletion for someone from Monday through to Wednesday.
But some people might already be so carb depleted that you actually need to start refilling them 2 weeks out.
That can happen as well. Yeah.
Like I know I'll be doing that for 1 or 2 people running into this next show.
With Amber, I didn't do any carb depletion with her. We just kept on the same food for most of the peak week and then ramped it up the carbs towards
and then I ended up needing even more than what was scheduled with the travel and the heat and everything like that as well.
Being in Malaysia was it's a trip. When you go international, you've got to deal with a whole lot of other things as well. We will talk about that international side of things as well. But international competing, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more things you got to look out for because of course the travel and the water retention you get from travel. But that's not just international, it could be regional. For example, if you're driving for 5 or 6 hours sitting in a car, there's going to be some form of inflammatory response from your body, especially when you're in a heightened state of sensitivity. And just remember, hey, you might say, well, look, actually I'm fine after 5 hours of driving. Sure, you are right now, but you're not in a prep 1 week out of a competition. When you are really hypersensitive to every little thing, little things are going to drastically change your outcomes and the way you look. So we generally recommend people travel at least 2 to 3 days in advance from a show, depending on where that show is and how far they have to travel. Okay, if it's just around the corner, you're fine.
But it's only 1 or 2 hours travel. It might be fine to travel first thing in the morning the day before.
Yeah.
Depending on the class as well, if they have to come in, very, very shredded for that class, it's best not to risk it. I'd be coming in even earlier still.
Yes.
But if it's not quite as shredded,
it's not as important.
Worry as much. And also, if the person is very, very shredded already, and they might be a little bit more shredded than what you want them to be, then if they're blurring out a little bit, that might even be positive. So
blurring out, what that means is that the striations that you see through muscle just gets a little bit blurred, right, because of inflammation in the water. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So a peak week, okay, peak week starts, we might do a little bit of water loading or not, again, depending on the person and how sensitive they are to water manipulation. We will start relaxing them a little bit more through their cardio. We'll decrease their cardio amount. They might still have 30 or 45 minutes depending on the person, but we'll generally try and decrease that cardio amount at the start of the week. Their training is going to be different as well. So we're going to focus mostly on pump session, going into the gym, doing 5-6 exercises on your chest and shoulders, machine work primarily, and just getting a really good pump, right? It's not so much about eliciting hypertrophy or getting progressive overload in that week. It's more around squeezing and contracting the muscle and trying to squeeze glycogen out of it so we can deplete it a little bit. And then later on in the week, say, again, depending on the person, could be Wednesday, could be Thursday, could be even Friday, we'll start pumping carbs back into you to start filling your muscles back out. All right. And again, depending on the person. So the way a muscle works is that it's 75% water and glycogen or ATP is stored in your muscle. Okay. So when we deplete it, the muscle gets smaller. Okay. And also we lose water from our skin. So if we drop water, your skin is going to lose a little bit of its elasticity, right? So you need to get nice and springy skin. That will start to diminish as we get more dehydrated and you pull your skin up, it sort of stays up and gets a little bit thinner. That's actually what we want for a bodybuilding show, because the skin is going to sit more around your muscle and going to highlight striation and your conditioning. Okay.
If you're wanting to highlight.
If you're wanting to highlight and conditioning. Again, yeah. I default back to bodybuilding looks.
If I'm just thinking about, you know, one person in particular the other year, I needed to give her, you know, more of an intense leg day, like 2 days out of the show, when that's not something that I'd usually do, just to bring up the fullness in the legs, because she was doing wellness, the wellness category, and it was ICN wellness as well. So they don't want a very shredded physique. So it didn't matter to me that if we were going to lose a little bit of conditioning, as long as she looked as full as possible through those legs.
Yeah. Yes. So again, depending on the person,
likely you wouldn't do that because you wouldn't want to remove the detail.
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of this will be dependent on the person, the class, and their condition.
Yeah, and how they're tracking throughout the week as well.
Yeah, exactly. But we want to try and de-stress that person, and we want to try and drop inflammation levels as well, so we can highlight a lot of the muscle and the shape and the conditioning on the show day. If we do an water manipulation, we might dehydrate that person coming into the show and minimize water on the show day. But as Amber said, it will be dependent on the person and how much conditioning they need to showcase. Again, so as you deplete your muscle, it gets smaller and the skin contracts to or shrinks to fit your size a little bit. So you lose that elasticity out of your skin with dehydration. We then start pumping carbs back into your body with a little bit of water to absorb carb, because you've got no water, you're not going to absorb carb, and it's just going to sit in your stomach and not do what we want it to do. But we need so you need a little bit of water to actually get the transport agent, which is blood and water, right? And to move the glycogen back into your muscle, to fill your muscle back up and start showcasing the detail that we've brought to the stage. Okay. So it is a little bit of a balancing act and a little bit of sciencey stuff to it. Hence why we try to do little test runs sometimes, depending on the person, and see how they respond or don't respond. You can manipulate sodium, but I generally wouldn't do that, because without sodium, you can't get a pump and you can't store water in your muscles either. Creatine, that's something that we've often removed, not because it keeps has fluid under the skin, but on the off chance that a person holds water retention from creatine at all, it's like, well, it probably won't, because creatine is stored in the muscle, but on the off chance that it's affecting them and causing some fluid underneath the skin, we might drop it out.
Or maybe we're just reducing the quantity.
Reducing the quantity,
I'll just, depending on the person, I might just take the quantity down to 50% of what we usually have throughout that final week.
Yeah.
And then if our water was going quite low on the Friday, maybe we wouldn't have it then just for digestive reasons.
Yes. Well, that's a good point as well. So digestion can be impacted quite a lot through a prep phase, and in particular through peak week as well. So another important thing to navigate through the whole journey, and there's things we can do to help with digestion, like psyllium husk, making sure you've got enough water and all that kind of stuff. On the peak week and show days, your digestion probably won't be the best. So we might need you to get some lower bowel support pills to take the night before to make sure you go to the toilet, because you don't really want to have a little distended tummy on stage because you haven't been able to go to the toilet, right? And again, you probably won't notice that if you don't go to the toilet one day in an off season, because there's a lot more cushioning there to hide everything. But when you're really low body fat percentage, that little bit of difference is quite a big difference up on stage.
And also it feels quite uncomfortable as well if you've got that achy feeling. And I know, like, I used to have that problem, back in the earlier days. Often it was hard to go to the toilet the last couple of days during prep. But since I started doing preps with Chris, it's not been a problem, and I don't even need to use that bowel support because he used a different approach.
Yes, a better approach. So some of the things that I was going to say.
Also, you're more on that toileting stuff. Let your coach know during that peak week if anything's unusual, if you've got, any diarrhea, if your stools, are smaller than usual, you've got any tummy aches and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, really important for your coach to know every little detail. Don't be scared to tell your coach
during the journey as well.
Absolutely. Don't be scared to tell your coach at any stage that you're having bowel issues and what your stool looks like or feels like or smells like. Or if it's just like, something's unusual. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Some people overshare too much. I've got a guy that I coach who tells me every single day what his bowels look like. Cool, but I probably don't need to know every single bowel movement.
As long as he's not sending a picture.
Yeah. He's done that before. It's a little bit too much information. But it is important to know these things as well. So on your peak week's going to look quite different, and every peak week you do is probably going to be different as well, because your body adapts, and your next show you're going to be a different person. So if you do a show tomorrow, the next show you do, you're probably going to have to peak differently for it, for a number of reasons. One, you've adapted. Two, your body has changed. Your stress levels might be different. Your hormones might be different. Your amount of muscle you have might be different as well. So a lot of these things will impact how we're going to peak you on the day. Okay, so not every peak is the same. I don't think I've ever had the same peak week, ever. Have you had? No, I don't think Amber's ever had the same peak week either.
No.
Okay.
Generally, we use the same sort of base for those last three shows.
Yeah.
But then we had to tweak each one differently. Like, I had to have so much more water that last time, but the water that I was having was a different kind of water than the water that we were having at home. So it had a lot less sodium in it. So it meant I had to put so much more sodium in my food, and I just felt like I was just thirsty all the freaking time because we were also in another country as well with a hot climate.
Yeah. So, all of these things play a massive role. Again, you're just so uber sensitive to every little thing in peak week that little things do matter. We do provide, like both Amber and I, we do basically like a daily plan for peak week where we tell you exactly what to do every single day. So on Monday, this is what I want you to do. I want you to start with this. This is your food plan, all your meals that you're going to eat. You're going to start exfoliating the skin. You're going to do this kind of posing. You're going to do this kind of training, with these training plans and that. As we go through the peak week, we're going to tell you when to shave or when to do your hair removal, right? And how to do it. Hair removal is really important, and do remove all hair. Okay, so you don't want any sort of hair showing at all. A couple of reasons for that. One, if you're, especially for guys, when we're quite hairy, that actually makes your conditioning look softer. And under bright lights, your hair's going to reflect the light. So again, you're going to look softer again. What I guess I haven't done in the prep is we've also by now discussed your hair, your makeup, your look that you're going to have on stage, and your bikini color and your shoes. Now, these do play a role in your performance and how you're looked at by the judges, whether it's subconsciously or consciously from the judges, okay?
Also, different federations have different requirements for suits and for shoes as well. So
Yes.
make sure that you're up to date with that.
Some want like no elevation on the shoe. Others don't mind if you have elevation on the shoe.
Maybe that is just a little bit's okay.
Yeah. So you need to know about that kind of stuff as well. For bikini colors, you generally want to choose colors that aren't going to blend into your skin. So yellow isn't normally a great bikini color because when you put your tan on, you're quite tan, right? Your brownie is kind of yellowy type color. So you need to have colors that kind of contrast you. As coaches, we know most of the judges. We know what they like and they don't like. And we can also look back on who has won shows in the past and what the look is, right? Same with like, if you look at Olympia, there's generally a trend in how these girls or guys look through the Olympia classes and categories, right?
Red or blue bikini.
Red or blue bikini, blonde hair. Next year will be all brunettes. You know,
if it's IFBB, you want to look at what the international trends are and who's scoring best at the top, and then that's what I'd be doing if I was doing IFBB.
Yeah. There is biases, of course, as well. So at the end of the day, we're all human. And as a judge myself, I try not to let any bias come into play. But I don't know if subconsciously I am biased. You know, my favorite color is blue. Maybe I'm going to subconsciously be biased towards a blue bikini.
If there's like two identical people and your favorite color is blue,
you could go that way from an unconscious bias. Yeah. So understanding looks and what requirements are is really important. One, for your coach, but also for you to understand why you need to have certain colors or have a certain look and all that kind of stuff.
And it's just have a look at different bikinis on stage and lineups. What looks like it pops better to you, like with you, you know, if you're a brunette versus a blonde, what is looking better in that lineup?
Yeah. You generally want eyes on you. You always want eyes on you when you get on stage, right? So how you pose and how you hold yourself and your smile and your stage presence is crucial. Even when you're not in a lineup, because generally what happens when you get on stage, you go and and if you're doing your lineup and your symmetries, you might have 4 or 5 people up on the front lined up and some more people standing at the side. Just because you're standing at the side and you're not on the front line doesn't mean you're not being watched. Pose, move, smile, get the eyes on you. If they can look at you when you're on the side, man, you're doing something good.
But not too obnoxiously. It has to be subtle. Yeah, because it'll look rude if you're going too hard out.
Yeah. Tone it down.
Yeah.
I've seen that. We saw this the other year where a guy came out on stage, did his routine, and then he stood off to the side of the stage. And then the next guy came out and did his routine. And the guy at the back of the stage was doing a lot of posing and moving around, a lot of transitions. And I was just like, man, I get it. You're trying to take the eyeballs on you. That's cool. I understand. But it came across a little bit too much, a little bit arrogant in a way, because it was detracting from the actual routine that the guy was doing up on stage. And actually, in some classes, you're not judged on the routine. So in figure and in bodybuilding, you have to do a routine, but you're not judged on it. And in fact, in saying that, not all federations do routines either. So it will depend on the
most federations will do some type of a
walkout.
A walkout. So I'd still call that like a little
sort of
routine. But when you're standing up on the side, you know, you still want to be holding yourself well and smiling nicely, not sort of chin dropping to the floor. Maybe you're changing between a few different relaxed poses, but not being too over the top about it. Trying not to stand far behind somebody, inch yourself out a little bit more so you can be more seen if possible.
Yeah, in a subtle way. That's the trick to it. Posing is all about making it look easy when it's really, really hard. So smiling, making out like this is easy while you're dying on the inside, kind of thing. Yeah. So peak week, you've done your peak week. we've prepped you, you've done some water manipulation, we've carb loaded you into the show, and now it's time for just show day.
But wait, I didn't sleep the night before the show. Now what?
Relax. Well, too bad.
It's very, very common that the nerves get the best of us in that final week. You know, if you're feeling, if you're losing sleep on those last couple of days, then do your best to, you know, rest in other ways, putting your feet up as much as possible on the Friday, keeping your feet up as much as possible on the Saturday before you go on stage, not running around, catching up with everyone. Okay, it is great to make friends, but you can make friends laying down with your feet up as well.
Yeah. That peak week is all about de-stressing and keeping off your feet, right? So if you're running around during your tanning or meeting and greeting everyone at registration and on your feet all night, it's not going to help you relax yourself and keep that inflammation down for the next day. Okay, so it's really important that you do chill out as much as you can, especially over Thursday, Friday, and on the show day.
Yeah, like on the Friday, tan done, a final pose, registration, feet up, done.
Yeah. So your meals should be all prepped. Everything should be sorted. If you're traveling away, then absolutely it's a must that you book accommodation that has cooking facilities. Okay. Or you take cooking facilities with you. So we've actually done this where we take those like electronic portable hub elements that you can port around. That can work. That's fine. A fry pan, as long as they've got a microwave and you can heat some rice up, pre-cooked rice up, you're good.
But if you're at a hotel, like they don't even have a microwave. All you've got is a jug and like a tiny little fridge.
Yeah. So make sure your meals are prepared.
Yeah.
If we have, so also with a peak week, we will give you a plan, but that plan is subject to change. So if we say to you have 150 grams of rice, and then you're going to send me photos at the end of the day and the start of the day, I might change your carbs, your carb amount based on how you're looking. So if you send me photos at night on a Thursday, I'm like, oh, they're not as full as I want them to be. I'll either do one or two things. Go and have banana and some rice cakes right now, or tomorrow I want the first thing the meal is 100 grams of rice. I want you to have 200 grams of rice, 250 grams of rice, right? So we're going to change things on the fly. So you can have backups like extra rice cooked, rice cakes, peanut butter. Make sure you take salt. That's really important. Can't stress that enough. Everyone forgets their bloody salt. And you're like, have you had any salt today? Like, oh, I didn't bring it. It's like, oh, gosh. That's so important for your ability to draw in muscle and drawing water into your muscles, right? So
yeah. So if you're not having salt on every single meal now, have salt on every single meal.
A little bit of salt on every meal.
Yeah.
Iodized salt.
Shakes are a quarter teaspoon or so. Yeah.
And use iodized salt, guys. Sea salt's great, Himalayan salt's great, but we actually need iodine as well. It's really important for us. Iodine was created for a specific reason because there was iodine deficiency in our diet in the 70s and the 60s. People get extremely sick from lack of iodine. Right, it's super important. There's generally a reason that we have food interventions. Okay, it's not because they're trying to have some conspiracy theory around poisoning you with iodine. Okay, if they want to poison you, they'll just put some arsen in all your bread and you'll be dead and you won't even know about it. Okay. Right. Sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine. So peak week, that's through your peak week. We go into your prep days, right? Your stage day. So stage, you're going to have a plan. You're going to have your meals itemized out, what to do. You're going to have a checklist of what to take, like foam mat, bands to pump up with, salt, hydration, if we want to give you hydration, especially after the show, after you've been on stage. You're going to have some sugar that we want you to get. You're going to have some rice cakes, peanut butter, and jam. But everything's going to be itemized out. Some warm clothes, a yoga mat to lie on, and we want you to rest and get off your feet the whole time. And you're going to have to do check-ins and keep in contact with us if we're not there multiple times while you're there. Okay, so I ask you to get up, take photos, all that kind of stuff. It's still subject to change at that point in time as well. So if we get photos from you or we see you and you're not looking the way we want you to look, we're going to tell you to do certain things at certain times. We're also going to tell you around your food timing, depending on when you are on stage. In general, it's kind of the same food and the same meals that you'd normally do, right? A bit of rice, except we're going to minimize protein, okay? So at the start of the peak week, you're going to have a lot of protein, normal protein amount, some fiber, some maybe a little bit of carb or not, depending on the person, and some healthy fats. As we get closer to stage, we're going to start diminishing some of these things, increasing carbs, like diminishing protein down. On the day, we're probably not going to have much protein at all, or if any, if that person doesn't need it, because one day it's not going to make or break the bank in terms of protein.
It'll depend on the person as well. Like for someone like me, I'm really prone to bloating, so I'll have protein in my breakfast and then no protein for the whole rest of the day.
Yeah. So previously to Amber, me coaching Amber, she was working with other coaches, and she always got bloated, right, on the show day, and that came to
stabbing,
gut pains, and all sorts of things. So what I did things differently for her. One, fiber was, I kept fiber a little bit higher, which was like, I don't know, I'm gonna be bloated. I'm like, trust me, just have the bloody fiber, please.
I did, but I was always freaking out because I was like bloated like a couple of days before. I always looked like more bloated, but then on the day it would always go away. I was like, oh my God, my tummy is the flattest it's ever been.
Oh, amazing. Right? Oh, you should have heard it though on the Thursday. I was like the worst person on earth. So, but it paid off.
It did look pretty bad though. My chicken photos was so bad.
That didn't matter. Again, we don't matter.
I seen them the other day. But yes, it
doesn't matter how you look on the Wednesday or the Thursday or even the Friday, as long as you look good on stage. Okay, that's all that matters.
3 days before that was.
Yeah. So depending on the person will be how we sort of do your peak week. Okay. But we're going to limit the amount of protein because it's just going to fill you up and potentially bloat you a little bit too much to what we need to be. We're probably going to choose mostly easily digestible carbs like rice. That's quite an easy carb to ingest, and it's going to be carbs that you've probably already been having for a long period of time because your body's used to it and tolerates it. We know how it tolerates it. Now, in the past, we used to do this, and we've had other, and I know many other coaches do this as well, but they might go and say, have a burger the night before. I don't like that at all. And the reason is that we don't know how that body is going to respond, okay? If that person is going to blow out, if they're going to look fluidy or have any water retention, or their digestion gets screwed up from this off meal, surely you can wait one more day. You know, it's not the end of the world to wait 24 hours until that bloody burger, is it? So just hi-ho, you're going to get your burger, just wait one more day. Same thing with backstage. They often have lollies and cupcakes and donuts. Please do not take the bloody cupcakes and donuts before you get up on stage.
Sometimes the lollies are appropriate though.
Sometimes the lollies are fine because that's just sugar. But cupcakes and donuts, no. Okay? Because again, they're not just made with rice and sugar, are they? They're made with all sorts of things. So, and I've had that before as well, where people have started eating a donut and I've turned up backstage and go, what the bloody hell are you doing? Get that out of your mouth right now. Oh, the sugar one won't hurt. It doesn't matter. You know, you don't know what you're going to, how your body's going to respond. You're on in 2 hours, man. Put it down, have it in 3 hours time. You'll be okay. Really important that you stick to exactly what's going on. You don't want to do all this work, 20 weeks minimum, pushing your ass off to blow it out on a bloody piece of food an hour out of show.
Yeah, and it can make a huge difference. Yeah, having a donut in that last hour.
Even like guys, even
hold my gut in after I've eaten a donut. Like I find it like when I go for a photo shoot the next day, tummy control is awful, and it's because I have gone out for the treat meal. We've had some of our little dessert things that we like, the dessert place in Auckland, and
so everyone's different though, right?
Some people actually, their tummies are small no matter what they do. So they might be able to get away with the donut.
Yeah,
but most people probably can't.
Yeah. So on this show day, you're going to be mostly told to relax, put your feet up, keep them elevated to keep off your feet. You're going to do pump up potentially randomly or at specific times on the day, depending on the person again, and approximately about 30 minutes before you need to hit stage, approximately. That will be dependent on where you are and how you look and all that kind of stuff in the classes. we're probably going to give you like your normal meals on your breakfast, and maybe if you're on at lunchtime, for example, you'd have your normal meal and then maybe your 10 o'clock meal and then nothing else. You might have some jam and rice crackers or some lollies before going on stage. If you're on later on in the day, you might have 3 meals and then some snacky type food before you get up on stage, again, depending on the person. Your water is going to be extremely low. Extremely low. I'm saying
Depending on the person,
depending on the person.
because it might not actually be extremely low.
It'll be lower than normal though. You're not going to drink 3 or 4 liters on the day. It'll
I
be lower
think
than
in the situation that we were in overseas and you with that weight and how dry you were, that we should have drunk like 4 liters of water in that
Potentially.
instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But more often than not, it's probably going to be more like a 500 mils or 250 type situation for most people.
more often than not.
More
Yeah.
often than not.
That was a very different environment. If someone got their hand up, Raymond, I can't always see you, so you're going to have to like speak up or raise your hand in the actual, click that little raise hand button on the screen.
But go
But
for
yeah,
it.
you got
It was the water that you were on about. So my question there was the water load coming in.
Yeah.
And the water loading and how much to know.
to do it
To
or
know
not.
how much water for them to load on.
Oh, to how much?
And yeah. And the salt manipulation.
Water manipulation, depending on the person, and I wouldn't change salt. I wouldn't really manipulate salt a hell of a lot for most people. We used to look at that quite a lot back in the day, but with the science has come out and like the understanding is a bit more now around the manipulation of salt. If you do it too much, it can actually be detrimental to being able to get a pump and keep fluid in the muscle. So I wouldn't really look at salt too much for most people. Hydration levels or water level be dependent on the person. If you have a small person, 50 kilos, they're not going to need lots and lots of water. Okay? They
Going
might-
in. Going in.
Yeah,
You
so
know, like water load, say, start water loading on, say, Wednesday, so to speak.
on the peak week,
Yeah, on the peak week.
water load on the Wednesday, no, not at all. You can water load earlier on in the week if you're going to water load around the Sunday, and then
Okay.
tapering it back from Wednesday, Thursday. Because
Right.
if you start water loading on the Wednesday, you're going to be fluidy come show day.
So how do you know how many litres to give them?
You can base it off their body weight. But
Or also look at how many liters that they're already having. If they're a person that's, I can think of one person that I was struggling just to get in 3 liters to her in the off season and during her prep, that it was not going to be appropriate for me to go push 6 or 7 liters in because she wouldn't be able to handle that. So for her, doing 4.5 liters was actually a load. It was quite difficult for her to get in.
Yeah.
So us doing our 4.5 liters through it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we just took it back a little bit day by day after that.
Yeah.
Worked nicely. But then other people, Chris, for example, he didn't have 7 liters a day. This is normal. So for him to have a load, then we might push him to like 8 9 liters. Flush some water out of it.
I've done as high as 18 litres of water a day.
But that's too much. That's
That's
going
too
to out too much at least electrolytes.
But that was back in the day from other coaches that we didn't have a stand at that point. So I felt the good and the bad, unfortunately. So you don't need that much water to regulate the fluid balance. It could be 1 to 2 and you definitely, a big thing with water loading is that you don't want to drink more than about 2.5 to 3 litres an hour. Because any more than that can actually cause some really dangerous issues. Basically, by drowning. You're drowning on your
Tummies, digestion, all sorts of things.
Okay.
Press it out through the day. It's really good.
cool.
Yeah. And also, like when you're doing this for like a bikini athlete, somebody doing like figure or open bodybuilding, you're probably not going to have the word dramatic.
Water manipulation. Yeah, you could almost do nothing. The same, just
maybe
beat it along.
water contain and maybe the table. Okay. The one.
Cool.
Oh,
Sorry about that. All right. So hopefully that answers. Yeah, that was good. So on the day now, you've got your list of what you're going to do. We've got your food all balanced out, and we might manipulate carbs a little bit based on how you're looking by the hour. There was a couple of questions. I'm just going to bring up the questions on this one.
And you have to make sure that we allow time for the reverse dieting stuff, because
I know
we've already been going for ages. There's just actually so much.
There is so much to go through. So you do your show and you get to do a pump up. Before you go up on stage, we're going to tell you the exercises, what to do. We'll show you the exercises, what to do, and we're going to tell you how to pump up and what we want to get from you. When you hit this, when you go backstage, okay, so you're going to be doing your pump up at that point in time as well. So you pump up before going backstage and also backstage. When you're backstage, watch what everyone else is doing up on the stage, because if you haven't done it before, there's going to be an order in how they take you out on the stage. So in general, this is what happens for most federations, not all federations, okay? But they get you to walk out to the middle of the stage at the rear, okay? And you hit one pose. So you walk out from the back, hit a pose, normally like a front symmetry or something like that, or a side symmetry pose. Then you walk to the front of the stage, and there'll be a line on the stage with a little X at it. Stand on that X and do another front pose. Okay, depending on your class or your category will dictate what that pose is. From there, you walk to either the left or the right. Again, this will be depending on the federation and the class. And you'll walk to left or right and do another pose, and back to the other side and do another pose. And then they'll get you to stand on the stage at an angle. Okay, so you don't walk off the stage, you stay on the stage, but you're standing on an angle. The next person will be called out. They'll do their little tail walk, back, front poses at the front, and then come and stand next to you. Then the next person will come out. After everyone in that class has been through their little T-walk, they're going to bring you, most of you or all of you, to the front of the stage. Again, depending on how many people are backstage, are standing with you on the stage. They might bring out 5 at a time if you've got a 10-class lineup. And they'll get you to do your mandatory and your symmetry poses, okay? The judges, what they're looking for is stage presence for the right pose. So if you muck your pose up, that's okay. You're learning, okay? Especially if you're doing a first timer class, the amount of times people get poses wrong is a lot, okay? So it's not the end of the world. Just adjust and fix it and carry on going. It's not going to be detrimental to you.
And the main thing is you're trying to present yourself as best you can from that angle. Like for some classes in particular, there's actually not a particular way that you even have to stand. Like if I'm looking at like ICN, for example, like you'll talk to their head judges and they'll just say, stand in whatever way is going to be best suited to bringing out your best physique.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different ways to do the side poses.
Yeah. Especially in more model classes, there's a lot more different styles.
Model, you don't have to have hands up. You could have hands down.
Yeah. Yeah. So learning different poses is really important, and also having a bit of a repertoire of poses that you can go to take you through different transitions to keep eyes on you. Because if you stand there on the front symmetry pose and you don't move like a statue, that's cool and all. But if everyone else is going to do like little tweaks and adjustments, they're drawing the eyes, not you. Okay. So your poses, you can tweak it and have little nuances in your posing to highlight certain features. Because if they say to you to do a front symmetry pose or your side symmetry, whatever it is, and you know that that look isn't the greatest showcase of your physique, you have to hit that pose, but then you can transition into a different pose after a few seconds and show them something that is more highlighting to you, right? So you can have little tweaks and adjustments in your posing. Again, if you get something wrong, don't stress about it. Just fix it and carry on. It's not going to be, you're going to be marked down on it. Unless you're on the, high level class, pros, etc., then sure, it might be detrimental. But in first timers, there's a lot more leniency for all this kind of stuff. You do your posing, and they might get you through 2 or 3 rounds of posing. So your posing is in the prep really, really important, not only to get the posing right, but also to get your conditioning on point, your endurance for posing. Because up on stage, you're going to be working your ass off and you're going to be depleted as hell. So your energy levels are non-existent, right? So you're going to burn out very, very quickly. In particular for the likes of figure and bodybuilding, we've got a lot more poses that we need to do, and they're a lot harder. I remember one time 3 or 4 years ago, I was posing my ass off and I completely destroyed myself to the point where I couldn't breathe. I won, so that was cool, but they sent me to the back of the stage because I'd won that lineup, and they went, but then they were going through like second or third, or second and third, and I thought I was going to pass out and faint because I was just standing there going, and I just couldn't breathe because my chest was so tight and I'd posed so hard and I was so depleted that I couldn't recover. And that was largely due to the fact that I didn't put in enough work on my posing conditioning through my prep. So lesson learned, pose, 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 pose. Not just for the practice of the posing, but for posing conditioning.
But also, if you are practicing
The
wrong poses, then that's not good either.
Yeah.
You'll just have endurance with bad habits. So that's where you have to make sure that you're nailing your posing with your posing coach.
Yes, absolutely. So then, look, you do your lineup, you do your show, and whatever place you get. Everyone wants to win most of the time. A lot of people want to win, right? It might not be something that your goal is. That's fine as well. You might just want to compete, and that's cool. But I personally, I compete to win. So does Amber. So we take it, pretty seriously. But at the end of the day, we don't decide who turns up on the day, and we don't decide what the judges think. It is very subjective, bodybuilding. You could be, based on your definition, the greatest athlete up on stage. But what the judges think is what matters, not what you think. Okay? So if you're upset and disappointed about not placing where you want to place, just take that as a learning curve. Why didn't I place there? Ask for feedback from the judges, learn and grow, and make it better next time. Make it something that they can't dispute. Be so good that the next person next to you has no competition at all, that you're just blowing them out of the water. Okay?
And use whatever mistakes that you make on that particular year to improve yourself for the next year. I know my very best package, the universe, was built using all of the mistakes that I'd made for the other international show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, you've done your show. Now, often the big thing is with everyone, once they do a show, is they go and eat whatever the hell they want and completely blow out on their night or in the next day. Now, what I would advise and what I tell everyone to do is absolutely go and have a meal off that you enjoy. I would recommend that you kind of stick to maybe whole food, like maybe go and have a burger or steak and chips or something like that. That's kind of hearty and filling for you. I would highly advise and strongly recommend that you do not go for lots and lots of sugar. Have a little bit, an ice cream, and a cake, a biscuit, whatever you kind of want, right? But don't blow out. Don't have a whole box of cookies or a whole punnet of ice cream.
Don't order a whole tray
of cookies,
of cupcakes, or 3 different trays of cookies, and have that waiting for you when you get home, because what's going to happen?
You're going to binge on it all. Yeah. And there's a couple of things that happen when you load on sugar. One, the thing with competing, right, is that you fixate on food that you can't have a little bit, and you go, I can't wait till I get out of show and I'm going to have this meal. I'm going to have that chocolate cake, whatever it is. And then you go and have it, and 9 times out of 10, you're a little bit disappointed. You're like, oh, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah, it often doesn't taste.
Often it's not as good. And then what happens is you go, well, I know I'll look for the next thing that's going to give me that satisfaction that I'm craving, that comfort that I've been looking forward to. So you go, okay, well, it wasn't a chocolate cake. Maybe it's the ice cream. And guess what? They will have the same response. You will not get the benefit that you are looking for from it. It might taste nice, but you'll still be wanting more. Okay, it won't hit that spot for you. Nothing will, right? Nothing. So the slippery slope or the snowball that happens is that turns into the chocolate cake, and then the ice cream, and then the lollies, and then days and days of loading on sugar. Now, not only is that going to increase your calorie intake rapidly, and you're going to blow out extremely quickly in terms of weight because your body is now adapted to us a lot less calories, and your weight is a lot less, so you don't need as much food as what you did when you first started your prep, right? Because your TDE has changed now, your total daily energy expenditure has changed. So you're going to put on weight quite rapidly. Another thing it does is that it's actually quite dangerous to have high sugar intake after you've had none for a long period of time. It's going to elevate your insulin level. Now, insulin isn't a bad thing, okay? Insulin shuttles nutrients into our body. You must have insulin. If you don't have insulin, you die. It's a diabetic, right? But elevated insulin levels over prolonged periods of time aren't good for you. And that can happen with people binging out on high sugar diets. That can also cause diabetes. Now, I know a guy that actually had the onset of type 2 diabetes and with abs, okay? So he came out of a bodybuilding show. He loaded on sugar, cookies. He actually worked for Griffin's. So he was able to, he got free all these kind of cookies and sweet treats, and he binged out on them for like a week. He was still, relatively lean, but his blood sugar levels were through the roof. He was having dizzy spells. He was getting sick. He was feeling nauseous all the time, and it just wasn't good for him at all. Then on top of that, you have a lot of inflammation from high sugar. So you might get quite sore. Your joints might feel inflamed. It's kind of like being hungover as well. You feel tired, lethargic, low energy. It's not a very good thing to have. So I highly recommend you don't have lots and lots of sugar. Have a little bit, but leave it at that. Focus on whole food. Go and have meals off at a cafe, at a restaurant. That's fine, okay? Do that on the night. Do that all of Sunday. What I generally recommend people to do is go have like a wrap, or again, a steak meal the next day, a cafe brunch, whatever you want to do. Load up on things that aren't a big issue. So for me, I load up on rock melon because I love rock melon. So I'll eat like 2 whole rock melons the next day. It's not a big deal. It's a low calorie type option. It's not that much of sugar, and it helps me stay full and gets that little craving nailed. For other people, I also get them to load up on protein. Like, I'm hungry, just eat as much protein as you possibly like. Eat chicken breast until the cows come home. It's not going to cause any damage to you. You're going to feel full, and it's going to reduce the amount of cravings that you have. How you act now is going to define your reverse.
And have your food prepped for the week after the show before you go into the show. So if you can make some meals, set those intentions during your peak week, pop those in the freezer, and then they're ready to grab during those weak moments as well. Yeah.
Plan for success, right? Failure to plan is a plan to fail. Make sure you're prepared for after the show just as much as you've been prepared for your every other day of your prep, right? So when you start reversing, the trick with a reverse is to slowly increase calories based on how that person responds. Yes, we're going to start incorporating a little bit more variety. We're going to allow to have more off meals here and there as well. That's going to happen. At the start, we might limit it, but as you go on and your calories increase, we're going to allow a bit more flexibility and variety with your food as well. But right now, you're at a point where you're super sensitive to calories, and we need to train your metabolism back up again. How long is a reverse diet is often the question asked. Again, this comes down to the individual. How long is a piece of string? Okay, a lot of it will depend on your compliance to the diet, how controlled you've been on it, and also your prior history with dieting and your metabolism baseline. So some people will respond very, very well and quickly to a reverse diet. I've got people that I can increase their calories by 200 to 300 a week, and we can get it from them eating 2,000 calories or 1,800 calories up to 4,000 calories a day with very little body fat gain, very little. It depends on the person. Some people are the opposite. They might take 12 months to reverse out of a deficit properly if they've had a really bad diet history and the metabolism has been shot. Okay, for these people, this is a whole nother topic altogether. I would highly recommend, if you've got anyone that you're coaching, you're working with people that has a poor history of dieting, you need to explain to them right from the onset that it's going to be a rough ride for them in the prep, and their reverse is going to be a long time. So doing multiple shows year on year is not a good idea at all. But most people, you can reverse them roughly around 50 to 100 calories a week, depending on how compliant and how good they've been. But we want to get that calorie amount from two different ways. Again, increasing calories, mainly through carbs first, and decreasing cardio. I generally give people a bit of an option sometimes. So I might be like, hey, okay, we're going to increase your calories. We can either increase your breakfast or your dinner. What one would you prefer? I might want breakfast increase. Okay, cool. Hey, we need to increase your calories again. We can either reduce your cardio because you say your time commitments are, quite tough right now, or we can increase your food. What would it be? Because your calorie amount is still, if you drop 10 to 15 minutes of cardio, that's about 100 calories. That's the adaptation for the week. Your body can only handle a certain amount of adaptation week to week. But after 8-10 weeks, that's 1,000 calories at 100 calories a week. That's quite a lot. So if you're on 1,200 calories at the low end, you'll be on 2,200 calories after just 10 weeks if you stick to the plan.
But more often than not, people don't stick to the plan, and then they blow out on the weekends, and then you can't put their food up as fast as that you like. Yeah. And then everything takes a lot longer.
Yeah, well, they blow out completely, and you have to keep them on low food, and then they put on 10 kilos on low food, and now you're really stuck. Now they want to go through another diet phase because they've put on all this weight, and you're like, well, mate, we've already got you on 1,500 calories. We've only been able to increase your calories by like 300 or 400. What do you expect me to do here? You're still doing an hour of cardio a day. Like, what can I do now? So you could potentially take them through another mini cut, 5 or 6 weeks intense, and then just iterate to them or explain to them really strongly that you have to do this reverse correctly now. Otherwise you're going to be in an even worse position after this little deficit again. So the reverse is crucial for long-term success. It's going to set up their whole bulk as well.
It's even harder than the prep, really, to be able to stick to.
Yeah.
Because it's more of an open-ended goal. And
yes. You're not on stage in 12 weeks, 20 weeks time. It's the purpose is kind of, you also get what's called comp day blues around the Monday or Tuesday for most people, where because you've been hyping this event up for so long, your whole life has evolved around stepping on stage for like 20 weeks or longer. You get to stage, you do your show, and now what? You might not have another goal for another 12, 24 months for some people. Some people might have another show in 3 or 4 weeks time, so they could have that to focus on. But some others might be a long time away.
Yeah.
So your focus needs to shift, okay? The relationship with food needs to shift. The relationship to yourself needs to change at that point in time as well. Because you've also been hyper-fixated on how you look in the mirror and how much you weigh. Now we're going to start looking softer. You're going to start putting on weight. That's going to really mess with your head, okay? Because your focus has been the opposite for so long. And your driver or your determination of success has been how you look and how much you weigh. Now we need to change that focus to be how you feel, your fuel, your training performance, and your recovery. So not your look and not your weight. We still can use those to gauge how you trend, but sometimes we might get people to not weigh themselves or not do their photos for a little bit if they're having some real toxic sort of self-image or self-talk going on. Mental health is the #1 factor here, okay? Pretty much everyone struggles with a reverse at some point in time. That's okay. Communicate it, explain it, what's going on, what can we do differently, and how can we navigate it and help you on this journey. But it is a really tough phase of every bodybuilder's life, is the reverse. Probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest part of a bodybuilding journey. But as we've said at the start, like this is where you make or break the bank. This is where we set your calorie amount. This is where we fix your hormones. This is where we fix your BMR. This is where we start dialing and progressing your muscle and your hypertrophy and how much muscle we can put on in your off season. If you stuff this up, you're going to make a really hard run of it, and you're going to limit your ability to have a good off season and build the muscle that we want to build come to your next show. So everyone that we work with and every coach needs to talk to their athletes and tell them right from the get-go, yes, we can do a show, but your reverse is just as important as your prep, if not more important. I say it's more important personally because it sets you up for everything else afterwards. Some people don't think that. That's okay. I think it's more important. With all of this stuff, guys, I know we're running over time. I understand. I'm sorry. There's just so much to cover.
We should take questions.
I will
very
take.
soon.
Yeah, we'll take Q&As really soon.
We're hungry now.
I'm hungry now. Okay.
Everyone's hungry, right? It's like 7 o'clock.
With all of the stuff that we're doing, as I did touch on this, everything needs to be scalable. And as a coach, I need to know exactly what's going on at every step of the way, every day, right? If you take it on yourself to start doing more cardio or skipping meals, I need that. One, don't do that, first and foremost. Two, we need to know about that straight away and why. If it's because you can't get the food in, okay, well, we'll adapt your plan to fix it so we can get the required amount of food in. But if you're changing things and not communicating it to us as a coach, when we go to change something, we go, oh, look, we're going to reduce your calories. And you're like, oh, I'm already doing one less meal. It's like, far out. Your body's adapted to that. I was going to only drop your calories by 100. Now I have to drop it by 500. You're going to struggle even more. And if you do it right at the start of your journey, man, we're in for a rough ride because we can only go down in terms of calories from there. Okay, so if we tell you eat 1,800 calories, eat bloody 1,800 calories, not more, not less. If we tell you to do 30 minutes of cardio, do 30 minutes of cardio, not more, not less. Because if you come in and you start mixing things up and doing your own thing, we don't know what's going on. We don't know how your body's responding and how do we scale that. Same with like HIIT training as well. HIIT training can be beneficial and works for some people, but again, it takes a lot from you. And in a hard calorie deficit diet, your joints are going to be less fluidy and less supported from healthy fats. So we start doing high intensity training, explosive movements, the risk of injury is a lot higher. Okay, so we're trying to, the focus is bodybuilding and hitting you the stage. You might want to do other things, just be patient. Just wait, okay? You got time for that later on. We can start smashing HIIT cardio later and do whatever else you want to focus on afterwards. Just have that goal and that focus, okay? It's hard enough as it is without checking other things in the mix. Q&As, please. Fire away questions, concerns, things that you guys we've missed and you want to know. I think I've covered most things. Actually, one question that was asked was bulking and how to put on muscle. So again, depending on the person and the goals, but it's the same thing with like what we talked about, increasing carbs, increasing calories, progressive overload. That's your fundamentals for building muscle, and we'll absolutely have that focus in an off season. It's all about how much progress we can make, really. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Yes, Serena.
I just had a quick question about female hormones.
Sure.
I was wondering, is it common for a woman to lose her period while on prep?
Yeah.
Is it normal as well? And is there any way to kind of better regulate hormones to keep everything more, I don't know.
Good question. Really good question. I wouldn't say it's common. It does definitely happen. It will depend on a lot of things in terms of the person's history, what class and category they're doing. Because if you're doing a softer look, we shouldn't need to do a diet that's going to potentially risk that response of losing your period. But everyone's different, so they might have a less tolerance to the manipulation of fats, and they lose it sooner than what other people might lose it. So We try not to, okay, but it is a risk that can happen. With bodybuilding, it's not healthy in the prep, okay? It's not at all, but it's only for a short period of time. And if we do your reverse properly, we should be able to get your menstrual cycle back online pretty damn quickly for most people. I do work with most of my clients are females. Most of them are going through, their periods, and some of them do have some issues with their period over the course of the bodybuilding prep and their journey. But generally speaking, they all come back and come online relatively quickly afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I find sometimes with some people toward the end, maybe the last period will be a little bit slow to come, and then cycle becomes normal after that. But yeah, generally most people are pretty good, really.
It depends on
but depends on the person.
Yeah, and it also might depend on the individual in terms of what they're taking and supplementing with as well. So when you start looking at performance enhancing drugs, that can play a massive role. Estrogen blockers, that can be used, and that obviously crushes estrogen and periods as well. So that can be an issue. So there is some other caveats to that. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the lower fats that people are eating as well, the more chance of hormonal disruption as well with that.
Yeah.
But the higher cardio and just more stress in general, you might have more,
all those
more
play a role.
issues.
Again, really depending on the person. We try not to let that happen, but at the end of the day, there's a sacrifice to bodybuilding, and sometimes the sacrifice might be that you have to sacrifice the hormones and the health a little bit to hit stage, if that person is willing to do it. But as a coach, it's really important that we communicate to the athlete. We're at the point now where if we keep going, this is a risk and this is the consequences. Are you willing to accept that consequence, or do you want to reset and hit another show later on with a better structure around where you are?
But also, if someone's coming to us and saying that they've completely lost their period and it's 20 weeks out, then we're going to be saying, probably something's going on here, that it's not the right time to be going forth with the prep as well, because we've got that responsibility too.
At the end of the day, like, your health is more important than any show, really.
Yeah.
It just depends. Like, you do have to sacrifice a little bit of health for a short period of time. If that's not going to cause long-term damage, then that's up to the individual if they choose to do that or not. Yeah. Loretta.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
Thank you for this. This is an awesome seminar. I'm really enjoying it.
No
I have a couple of random questions. One is, why do we mostly cut dairy if we're looking at fat intake? Like, is it because it causes more inflammation? So like if you have avocado as your fat, but you've run out of avocado or it's gone rotten or whatever, why do we not use cheese and things in the same, like, calorie for calories, right? So we'd adjust the portion. Is it just because of the inflammation that dairy tends to produce in people?
Because it's not calories for calories. 100 calories of sugar is not the same as 100 calories of kumara, really.
Okay.
It's still glycogen. It's still converted into sugar, sure, but the way it's processed is very different by the body. Cheese, 100 calories of cheese versus 100 calories of avocado, it's not the same fat. There's saturated fat and trans fat, and then obviously your omega fats as well. So that's a point of difference for it. There is a risk with dairy for inflammation. Not everyone can have that, but if there's any risk at all for anything, we generally try to minimize the risk depending on the person. Does that answer the?
Cheese can get really addictive as well.
Yeah, cheese, and it's easy to overeat, man. Like, how easy is it for you to have 100 grams of cheese? Or if I told you to have 15 grams of cheese, it's like a little sprinkle. You'd be like, what the hell is this? Give me something decent, man. I'm not going to have 15 grams of cheese. I'm going to have like 50 grams. So that's another issue. Like, if people have triggers or they tend to overeat on certain things, like one person I know overeats almonds. That's a good fat source, but they're triggered by almonds. So it's like, okay, well, let's not have almonds in their plan.
No, I was just curious about that. So that's cool. Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah.
Question as well.
I was also thinking, like, if I am to start looking at posing, like, you know, you and I have been chatting loosely around classes and timeframes, and if I did look at ICN classic figure, who would I go to for posing tuition? Oh, okay, cool. Hi. Okay, cool. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Amber or Sarah, who is our other coach and really, really good at posing for figure as well. So both Amber and Sarah do really good posing figure coaching. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys. That's all good. I'll go back to my cooking.
Go for it. Emma.
My question was actually pretty similar. I was just wondering about like what you guys offer in terms of posing, because I feel like I do it every day, but I don't want to learn the poor habits.
Yeah.
And you guys are a 6-hour drive from me, so I can't exactly do in-person sessions as much as I'd like to. So I was just wondering, like, if you guys did digital
Yes, absolutely.
sessions or something.
I think most of the way we work is online and digital, really.
Yeah,
Amber?
we do the odd group session.
Yep.
But mostly just work online, one-on-one sessions. Most people do like a fortnightly session into comp, and then we'll do like a check-in on the alternative week. That usually works pretty well for most people.
Yeah.
Because I'm 14 weeks out, so I figured I'm kind of running out of time, and I should probably start that soon because I'm bedazzling my heels right now.
Yeah.
I'm really used to wearing those, but it's just the posing and the weight distribution that I'm kind of struggling with.
Yeah.
And like flattened muscles when I'm on an inclined position. So just support with that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the sooner you get into it, absolutely, the better, because you don't want to practice the wrong stuff as well. And as I said, like it's about conditioning. It's also around your presence on stage. And if you're not confident in a pose, your presence on stage isn't going to present as confident. And the way you pose might be slightly different to the next girl, because it's going to highlight certain points of difference for you and your shape.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Monica, did you have a question as well? I thought I saw a hand go up before.
Hi, yes, it was about the posing, but all good. It's all answered. Thank you.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Obviously, we didn't cover posing enough. Sorry, that's my bad.
No, well, we covered posing well, but these guys is asking who to go to. And stuff really was the main thing.
Yeah.
And you know, if they're under 20 weeks out, then definitely
want to look into it. If you, online is great. You know, if you can get the odd in-person stuff as well, that would be even more helpful to people, because we can actually manipulate how the person stands and go like, push out your lat here, you know, do that. That can help it. But at the end of the day, that's not the case for everyone. I've done most of my posing coaching online with people in the States. So there's no way I can see them. Yeah,
and we'll launch all the dates that we're going to do for the group ones, for the in-person stuff. Maybe should do that next week, because I've got those all together. Yeah.
Cool. All of this is going to be recorded as well, so I think I said it at the start, but you will be able to watch this again, and if you've had to shoot off earlier, you'll be able to watch it as well. But anything else anyone wants to go over? Any concerns or questions around federations there? Thelma?
Can't hear you. Is it still recording? My God.
Yeah, it's still recording. It's still on mute there, Thelma. Here we go.
Okay. I just wondered, so is every comp quite hectic at the backstage when you come in, you set yourself up, you're already in the motion of trying to do what you need to do, and everything else is stacked in the one room. Is it the same for every comp?
pretty much. Yeah.
Like the comp that you've done, the WFF1, that's pretty low.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, but that's pretty low key compared to like the ICN ones
Oh yeah.
will be a lot more busy than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite good for you to start on, considering your next one's going to be ICN. It'll be, yeah, really busy. A lot of people coming and going, but nothing you can't handle.
Yeah.
We'll try and see if we can, like usually we do this at comps where we have a space that we set up and try and get, you know, the team to sit together and stuff to support each other. And
yeah. Just, it's really important at a show when you're backstage to understand the running order. There'll be a list somewhere plastered on the wall, a couple of lists. Take a photo of it, understand the running order, make sure you know when you're roughly on, and then revisit the marshals that are backstage. You go, hey, where are we at? Can you just confirm where I'm at again? You know, if you're worried or concerned, just be aware of what's going on. Don't fall asleep if you can help it. If you haven't got people there to wake you up and say, hey, mate, you're on in 5 minutes, right? Loretta, did you have another question?
Yeah, sorry.
That's right.
Me again. Just briefly, with the ICN and the testing, how do they actually test that people are natural? And do you think it, like, how close is that to accurate? And do people still try and cheat the system?
Absolutely. I mean, people try and cheat the Olympics, right? And that's
Yeah,
the most regulated and tested sports in the world.
they only test like a couple of the overall top winners.
Yeah.
And then
Interesting. Okay.
if people, you know, choose to use whatever during the off season, and if they're not registered as an ICN member over that time, then they're not getting tested over that time either.
Yeah, ICN can do random drug testing throughout the year.
For members
For
only.
members only. They will do it for their pros, for sure. But as Amber said, it's not foolproof at all. There's
I think
been
most people are pretty good, but you know, a few people ruin it for the rest of them.
there's always one or two that are, you know, not honest and don't, for the, you know, being silly and dickheads basically.
They're supposed to be 5 years clean before they come in, and you know, there's actually plenty of people that aren't 5 years clean when they come in.
Yes, there is.
Mm.
And
But
or they
have
might,
just been clean for 2 years,
or they run stuff in the off season and compete with it out of their system and stage. That can some be what people do.
Mm.
But the problem with that, right, is that there's so many federations out there that don't test, and actually, you know, like IFBB or, you know, there's bigger shows that you are actually almost expected to take performance enhancing drugs, especially for bigger classes. Go and compete there. You know, that's the federations to do that kind of stuff. Don't take drugs or PEDs and compete in natural federations. It's not right. It's morally wrong. Have some freaking credibility and values to your name, people, because there's other federations out there that you can do it. You know, it's just not right.
And the other thing is, like, if you're competing with a tested federation, make sure that everything that you're taking is legit, that it's banned substance free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even like pre-workouts can be
some of
trace
these, like,
elements of stuff.
American fancy hardcore pre-workouts have got this bit of this and that in it, the fun stuff, but not going to pass a drug test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, your party drugs or the, I don't know, do they test? I think
They
marijuana,
test marijuana.
and stuff. Like if you're a recreational user or,
Yeah, so all those things can be tested in ICN, and you will be banned for life, basically. Raywin actually, she got tested from ICN, and she has normal high-level test results, right? So, but they did ask her and say, Raywin, your test results are quite high, and they made you do another test, and they had to get doctor's approval and all this kind of stuff. But Raywin never took anything, and she's very much against all that kind of stuff as well. So they will test some people, and they are quite thorough with their testing. And if it does come back with anything, they will ask you about it. But if you go through the process, generally speaking, if you're all good, you've got nothing to worry about for most of the time. But on occasion, there's been people tested for taking stuff. That's all right, Thelma. Through pre-workouts that they didn't even understand was a banned substance, and then being banned for life on it. So
Wow.
Just be really aware of what you're putting into your body, especially in like the likes of ICN and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
That's all right. Anything else, guys? No?
Yeah, it'll probably be
Cool.
close
Well,
it
we're going
off
to go and
and-
make sure our kids haven't done anything or burnt the house down.
Yeah. Cooking
They're
some
still
cooking
alive.
Cookies earlier, but
Yeah.
yeah, let us know any other questions.
Message us.
Later on. Send us a message. Flick us a message today, tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
Things that you guys think about. More than happy to help.
Absolutely. And tomorrow I'll upload this video into a Google Drive and share it with all of you as well. Okay. Appreciate you guys' time. Yeah. Keep training hard and look forward to seeing you all soon. See you guys.